Previously on X-Men.
We're back, baby.
The dawn that breaks is night.
Together.
She's the X-Men's most diabolical foe, Apocalypse.
I will be all that is left.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Marvel dropped a brand new X-Men 97 Season 2 trailer. There's a whole bunch of new footage, Easter eggs, so we will break it all down, and a lot of references back to things that happened in the 90s, not just X-Men the animated series, but also X-Men comic book stuff from the 90s. X-Men fans eating good this year between this, Avengers Doomsday, the classic X-Men coming back, and that, and all the Sadie Sink X-Men stuff in Spider-Man Brand New Day. This time, the tagline for the trailer is just hyping up the X-Men team, like whatever we face, we will face it together as X-Men. And there are like a bunch of different characters from other X-Men teams too, like X-Factor. There's a lot of X-Factor characters in this. They start the trailer this time with that classic Wolverine line from the previous version saying, "We're back, baby," and he has his adamantium back after last season, after Magneto ripped it out of his body. There's a bunch of other trailer footage during this from different parts of the season when he's still Savage Wolverine with the bone claws. That was from a very brief run in the comics right after Magneto had ripped his adamantium out, and it made him completely savage, but he was actually a little bit more powerful, a little more unhinged Wolverine, because the adamantium is meant to be poisoning his body, so it actually slowed his healing factor, like his healing factor was healing his body constantly 24/7 while the adamantium was inside of him. So when it was ripped out, his healing factor went into overdrive, and it was a very controversial run, so he got his adamantium back pretty soon after that. Marvel's like, people want to see the classic Wolverine, we'll bring back Wolverine's adamantium. My assumption is that he might only be Savage Wolverine with the bone claws for like the first half of the season, like the first couple of episodes. We'll see how long it takes him to get his adamantium back. Then there's a quick roll call montage across the rest of the trailer with like many different X-Men characters, and they call this trailer the roll call trailer. One of the other funny things too is they dropped a new poster, and the poster was designed with the classic trading cards from the 90s, but with their modern TV show designs from season 2. Let me know in the comics if you collected any of those trading cards back in the 90s. I think that I had a few for a little while, but I can't remember where they are. In rapid succession, we see Professor X, Beast, Sabretooth, Morph. This is, I think, the scene where they're looking at DVDs full of files on different mutants. Most of Morph's scenes in this trailer seem like they're from that part of the season. Jubilee is in a prison somewhere wearing a power dampening collar. It's an energy-based prison, like it's an advanced prison. Behind her, it looks like the Stepford Cuckoos in separate cells, too. Polaris, Neve Campbell was supposed to be playing her. That was a big rumor, but when people asked Neve Campbell about it, she said she had no idea what they were talking about. So I don't know if that's actually true or if that's just something that people made up. Cyclops in his future suit that he and Jean wear when they're with Cable as a boy in the future, that's based on a comic book called The Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix from the mid-90s. It was a super trippy series. During it, they meet their son Nathan in the distant future, where he is raised and run into an older Apocalypse and Strife, who we also see during the trailers, not Strife, but older Apocalypse. Mother Ascani, that we met in the teaser last season, is played by Gates McFadden from Star Trek The Next Generation. John Delancey, who plays Q during Star Trek Next Generation, is also playing Rama Tut this season, Kang the Conqueror. So there's going to be a lot of Star Trek actors in the background too. They did that in season 1 as well. Sounds like the showrunners are just really big Star Trek fans. But Mother Ascani is actually the older version of their daughter from the future, Rachel Summers, from an alternate timeline. This Rachel Summers is from the Age of Apocalypse timeline in a post-apocalyptic future after Apocalypse has conquered the planet, and I believe what they're trying to say in Season 2 is that this distant future Cyclops and Jean Grey land in is meant to be the future of that particular Age of Apocalypse timeline. In the comics, when they eventually fix things and go back, it's meant to erase that timeline, but Rachel Summers winds up surviving in the comics and coming back into the main timeline eventually, and she's younger, so it gets super complicated. Like, Rachel Summers' backstory is super complicated. She is also one of the hosts of the Phoenix Force. The title of the comic book, The Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, that this is all based on, is a reference to her, Rachel Summers, that version of the Phoenix, not Jean Grey.
You may call me Mother Ascani, leader of Clan Ascani.
Adult Cable Colossus, who also might be one of Apocalypse's new four horsemen of the Apocalypse. There was a big theory about that after the last trailer, because people are like, who are going to be Apocalypse's new four horsemen in present day? Gambit is clearly going to be one of them, but a lot of the footage in that particular trailer focused on dead X-Men. So like anybody who's dead is fair game for that, but also there are some characters who became his four horsemen who are not dead in that trailer too. We get the new scene of Exodus. He's a super powerful Omega-level mutant from the 12th century. Lady Deathstrike, Yuriko, Nightcrawler, Jean Grey, Magneto, rocking the beard now. These robots that Cyclops, Jean Grey, and young Cable are fighting are meant to be drones from the future created by Apocalypse. We get another oh dear from Beast, who's driving what seems like one of their vehicles, maybe the Blackbird in present day. He's also wearing the Frank Quitely Grant Morrison uniform, so we know it's in present day a little bit later in the season, because there are a lot of scenes of some of the different X-Men wearing different costumes, and in a couple of scenes they're all wearing the Frank Quitely Grant Morrison costumes. We get a scene of Nightcrawler fighting Exodus inside some kind of facility or temple. The vines in the background make me think that it's inside the Savage Land again. They visited the Savage Land during Season 1. Magneto also had a base there in the past. Morph changes into Silver Samurai and attacks Sabretooth and Lady Deathstrike. This is probably from that same scene of them looking through the DVD files on all the mutants. We also saw the real Silver Samurai appear during Season 1 in Japan. Morph also turned into Deadpool during the last trailer too. They were going to use Deadpool in Season 1, but Marvel stopped them and said no, because when they were making that, they hadn't released Deadpool and Wolverine yet in theaters, and they didn't want them to step on any of the Deadpool Wolverine stuff, which made over $1 billion, so maybe that was a smart thing to do. I don't know. Personally, I don't think that it would have been a problem. But it's a couple years later, so that's all water under the bridge, so they can do all the stuff they want to with Deadpool this season. Deadpool is canon to X-Men the Animated Series. He also appeared in Morph form during that series. My assumption right now is that Ryan Reynolds would not come back to do the voice for his character, whatever they do with him on X-Men 97, like it'll just be new actors, or Morph himself will just voice the character and it'll sound like Morph. We get a new scene of Bishop using his power. He can absorb different types of energy, plasma energy, light energy, like blast from a gun, another mutant's energy, psionic, psychic energy, store it or give it off as blasts, which he's doing here. This also allows him to heal faster, so his healing factor is tied to how much energy he absorbs, and it can protect him from most damage if he stores enough, so he gains a limited invulnerability.
Luckily, this ain't our first time at the X-Men Are Dead rodeo.
This is Rogue's new costume from the Grant Morrison run a little bit later in the comics. We get more Savage Wolverine with the bone claws, like I said. Storm in one of her new suits with the gloves from later in the comics, creating a solar storm in orbit, a fire tornado. Jubilee in her black costume from the era when she became a vampire, but she's not going to become a vampire this season, they're just using the costume from that run. Sunspot in his X-Men suit because he's formally on the team this season. Season 1 was him just deciding whether or not he wanted to be with the X-Men, be like at Xavier's school. Archangel is back from the original X-Men the Animated Series. This is the Apocalypse season of the show in Season 2. He hates Apocalypse more than pretty much any of the other X-Men, so it makes sense that he'd be a bigger part this season. Psylocke is back. She has psionic powers. That's Sunspot, Jubilee, and Cable behind her, giving some X-Force vibes just based on the roster makeup here. They're using Siren this season. The original Sean Cassidy Banshee is her father. Strong Guy is one of the many X-Factor characters in the trailer. We've seen a bunch of X-Factor from Season 1 and Season 2. It just seems like they're even bigger in Season 2. He absorbs kinetic energy, and it just makes him way stronger. He's also immune to telepathy. Havoc is back, one of Cyclops' brothers. He's also an X-Factor character. They used him during X-Men First Class. They also featured Cyclops' other brother, Vulcan, during Season 1 when they went to the Shi'ar Empire. Maybe we'll see references to him again, but I don't know how much the Shi'ar are going to be featured during Season 2 because they're so focused on what's happening with Apocalypse on Earth during the different timelines. We get a new scene of Multiple Man. He's also part of X-Factor. There was even a brief period where James Franco was attached to do a live-action Multiple Man movie in 2017 with Simon Kinberg before his big fallout in Hollywood. You also might have noticed on social recently, very weirdly, David Dobrik, of all people, had James Franco in present day, like older James Franco, reenact a scene from one of his Spider-Man movies. It went exactly as you imagined it did. It was completely bizarre. We get a new scene of Wolfsbane from New Mutants. She was also later on X-Factor and X-Force. Maisie Williams played her during the New Mutants movie. Would totally love to see Anya Taylor-Joy come back as a version of her magic in the new X-Men movies too at some point, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. Emma Frost in her diamond form, she was featured during season 1 briefly. We get a new scene of Polaris, and it looks like she's protecting Chamber, I think Kid Omega, Penance, Bishop in the tank top. Maybe that's Sync next to them too. Not totally sure what's happening in the scene, but we get another scene of her in a Grant Morrison suit with Beast and Rogue in the Grant Morrison suits. Then we actually learn a little bit more about what's happening with Savage Wolverine. We actually see Forge fighting with him in this place where it's snowing somewhere in the north. Not clear what's happening here, but maybe this is the mission they go on to get Wolverine his adamantium back.
Yoink! Yoink! Yoink!
Yoink!
Yoink.
Magneto's rousing call to action about facing threats together as X-Men is meant to be in the past, based on their clothing, and it looks like they're meeting Kang the Conqueror in this Rama Tut form, but also we see them fighting Apocalypse from present day who has traveled to ancient Egypt, so there's going to be some weird time travel shenanigans this season with Apocalypse. You also notice all the symbols inside Kang's Sphinx ship are based on celestial symbols too, which makes sense that Kang would be using celestial technology from the future. Technically, though, it's from the past because the Celestials were born when the universe was born. They were created by eternity, so technically this advanced future technology is ancient technology. Professor X then warns everyone about Apocalypse, the X-Men's most diabolical foe, and we see him in present day, like I said, in his armor, and he's fighting the X-Men in ancient Egypt. My early theory here is that it's Apocalypse from present day who's messing with the timeline, trying to help himself take over the rest of the timeline. Like, I'll go back into the past, help myself in the past, and hopefully it will lead to a better future for me, the Age of Apocalypse future. Anytime shows get into time travel, it gets really weird, really timey-wimey, and a little bit confusing because Marvel in live action, like Avengers Endgame and Avengers Doomsday now and Avengers Secret Wars, all this time travel stuff that they deal with is completely different with the way the animated shows deal with time travel during X-Men the Animated Series back in the 90s. My assumption is that the rules for time travel in X-Men 97 Season 2 will be the same rules that they had during X-Men the Animated Series, like it'll just be consistent with the original series. In that version of time travel, you can change your own past and affect your own future, but in the live-action Marvel movies, the way they explain it, it's the Loki explainer. You can't change your own future. If you went back to the past and changed something, it would only create a branched timeline, so your original future would stay the same. You would just create a bunch of alternate timelines where things did change for you. I am sure there's going to be 1,000 questions about this when the season comes out, so don't worry, we'll deal with it episode to episode as things go along. They have not explained what their release strategy is, if it's the exact same from Season 1. I'm assuming it's the same way they released episodes in Season 1, so there might be like a couple episodes on the first day and then weekly after that, but we'll see how they do it. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below, and if you spotted any Easter eggs or references in the trailer that I didn't talk about in the video, just write them below in the comments. There's a bunch of big stuff coming up this week. We'll get some more footage. We're supposed to have a Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer, an official HD version that did not leak out, which I totally just did a video for. Click here for that. I'll update the link as soon as I post the new one. And click here for my breakdown of the leaked version of the trailer. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.